You're listening to Consolidate That. Ukraine is my motherland. It is now under a savage attack by Russia. Ukraine is shielding Europe and the rest of the civilized world from Putin's barbaric aggression. Ukrainians are brave and effectively fighting back. Let's help. Make a donation to Armed Forces of Ukraine. Link is in the show notes. #StandWithUkraine.
Welcome back to Consolidate That. Ivan, it's good to see you again. I'm thinking last episode we recorded was on my birthday. It's probably going to be an all-time favorite for all listeners, but I'm really excited about our guest today, another fantastic guest from within the clinics, which is always great, but I'll hand it to you to introduce him.
Well, I think we can top that by today's guest. So today we have
my birthday's pretty good.
We have one of the fabulous doctors in one of our clinics, a colleague of mine, a friend, Dr. Katie Rohrig. Dr. Katie Rohrig is a veterinarian who graduated from Virginia, Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine in 2009. She has been working at Danville Family Vet since her graduation, but she has been part of the team since high school. Dr. Rohrig is passionate about helping animals and providing the best care possible to her patients. Outside of work, Dr. Rohrig enjoys spending time outdoors with her husband, Will, and their two dogs, Tilly and Birdie. She is an avid horse rider, and her favorite hobby is showing American Paint Horse Association ranch riding with her horse Hook. Dr. Rohrig's dedication to her profession and love for animals make her a valued member of the veterinary community. Katie, welcome to the show. Thank you for finding the time.
Well, thanks for inviting us. I'm excited about this. Never done a podcast before, but everybody says it's going to be okay. And I agree. I don't know if I can top a birthday experience, but I'll try.
We'll do our best.
One cool thing about your experience with Danville Animal Hospital, which actually I think we're repeating that again with a new veterinarian starting, is that it looks like our leader there, Dr. Jeff Smith, is truly growing his own talent. So he's growing from sort of working in the hospital. So what did you do before you went to vet school at Danville Animal Hospital?
Sure. So I actually started working as a kennel attendant when I was the week before I turned 16, and I worked all through afternoons and weekends in high school and college breaks, and very fortunate to have Dr. Smith as my mentor all throughout. And Danville's a small town, and when I was in high school and college, I said, not coming home. I fell in love with Blacksburg, and I was going to stay in Blacksburg, but God had other plans and brought us back home. And I'm very happy to be back home.
That's amazing. And he is a truly amazing leader. The whole team there, we just visited a couple of weeks ago, and it was an incredible experience. And so it was great to see. And I love that you went the whole kind of profession through all the roles. That's what I repeated in Canada. I started from kennel attendant and a janitor, and then transitioned to technician, and then went to vet school.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think it's very valuable to understand all of the roles in the hospital. Kind of, you can put yourself in everybody's shoes, and they can't say, well, you've never done this, because I definitely have. The only role I haven't actually done is reception work. I prefer to stay away from that if possible, but I'll grab the phone and make appointments if needed some days. It's not my favorite, but I'll certainly get that done.
Yeah, I was a receptionist in vet school. So because I was 2 years to arrive to Canada, I still had a stronger accent than now, and English wasn't my best part. So being a receptionist and everybody making fun of me was a good experience.
Sure.
I could just imagine that. It's like, no, we're busy.
That's being Ukrainian, going Ukrainian on everybody.
Show up when I say.
Yeah, one day someone called and said that they were bringing in blue heron that was injured into the vet school, and then I paged radiology department, because when they're injured or dead, I don't remember which one was it, but they take an X-ray just to see if it was shot, because it's protected bird.
Of prey, yeah. Okay.
But I just heard the blue, so I paged the radiology and I said, there's a blue jay coming in, and they're gonna bring in. So the radiology department sent this picture, big picture on the print to the printer, which I was responsible for. Printer was next to me, and it says on it, Ivan, this is blue heron, not blue jay. So anyway, they constantly make fun of me. But I want to talk today about your experience through all of those positions because it's quite unique, and then your understanding of compassion fatigue and burnout in the hospital. And we have some interesting findings from. We just deployed our third study on the burnout across the industry. So it came out 2 weeks ago. Download it if you're interested. It's on our Galaxy Vet's website within the materials. But the surprising thing that we found is that this year, the most burned out role in the hospital is hospital manager out of all. So before we actually saw technicians and veterinarians. So what do you think of that? And as you went through different roles in the hospital, who do you think is in most danger of burning out as you can see it in the practice?
Sure. I mean, I think that it's going to vary from practice to practice. It's going to vary from season to season. It certainly makes sense that the hospital manager would be one of the ones that burns out, even though you you wouldn't necessarily, just like the normal individual doesn't see what the hospital manager does. But our hospital manager here, Amy, she's fantastic, and she's one of those, like, she cares about our people. She wants to make sure everybody's happy, whether that's our staff, whether that's our clients, whether that's other than herself. She doesn't look out for herself very well. So there have been many weeks that, as everybody, at least in Galaxy, is aware, and it's not just a problem here, but we're pretty short staffed. So if somebody needs to draw the short straw, it's Amy. So I can see where that would lead to burnout for sure.
Yeah, that's a sign of a true leader to step in where there's short staff, not start, pointing at
Right.
people saying you're
Right.
staying late, you're staying late. She actually takes it on. So
Yeah,
yeah,
she does. Yep.
she's amazing, and she has very high standard for the staff. We keep bringing on people to hire, but they just don't pass the Amy's filter. So
Yeah, she said yesterday that you guys told her she was too picky, but we've seen the other side of not being picky enough, and so we try to protect our family here, and it needs to be the right fit. And so
no, that's great. Yeah.
yeah.
So in the environment that you are in Danville, I mean, I've seen you guys operate. You are at the highest capacity to what you have as a team, and definitely could use a couple more people in different roles. At the same time, I get the vibe from you that you look happy, and unless you really hide it well, it looks like you can really separate work and personal life. So what do you first of all, is that true on the inside as it is on the outside? Are you a happy person and think that you're not in burnout in that high pace environment? And if that's the case, how do you accomplish that?
Sure. I mean, I think that there's different levels of burnout, and I think that I'm probably on the verge of a mild level there, but I still can compartmentalize, and it's very important to me to know what makes me happy and what kind of pulls me down. And now that the weather's nice again, it's nice that I can get outside and ride my horse and play with my dogs and see the sunshine. And I think that's the most important thing, is understanding you have to take the time to do things that bring you joy, so you can then focus on work. And I came to this profession because it's something that I enjoy doing, and I try to, when I have days that I'm like, this is a little frustrating, I don't know, if I can have many more days like this, I'm like, okay, why did you choose this profession? What do you enjoy about this profession? To kind of bring it back to the joy of work, and so that way it doesn't have to be 100% separated, like work and play. Certainly it is important to do both, and enjoy the time that I do have with my family and with my animals, but also I genuinely enjoy what I do.
It's kind of interesting, as you were talking about that, I think your joy and your sort of free time you spend with animals as well. We hit on the
Right.
painted
Yeah.
horse riding and showing and all of
Sure.
those sort of things as well. Do you ever find that kind of the compassion and compassion fatigue that can come out from within there, being with your animals at home, does that reinvigorate the passion, or do you ever just feel kind of more maybe aloof or anything like that? Because I've worked in places where I'm very passionate about a project or a product or a tool or something like that, and then I have it at home and I come back and I'm like, oh, I guess I could, look at this or play with this, but how do you sort of keep that spirit alive?
Right. Well, I mean, that's a great question. And because I grew up on a beef cattle farm and I showed horses my entire life, a lot of people are like, why aren't you an equine vet? Why didn't you do the large animal? And I wanted to 100% keep the horses my hobby. I didn't want to end up saying, like, gosh, I worked with horses all day. I don't think I want to go visit my horses this evening. So I did kind of draw that line by choosing to be small animal rather than go into equine, because I wanted to absolutely make sure the horses could continue to be my passion and my hobby. Dogs, I'm not gonna lie, there's some days that I'm like, Will, can you please take care of the dogs tonight? Because especially when our newest puppy, Birdie, was a puppy, I'm like, I take care of dogs all day. Can you please feed her? Can you please clean up the puddle of pee this afternoon? So I mean, there's times that I am like, okay, enough dogs, but it's still nice when they come and sit in my lap and cuddle with me in the evenings. And I actually do agility with our older dog Tilly, and that's also an outlet for just enjoying them. So I think it's different than the day-to-day interactions that we have with caring for them as a patient, rather than having them be like your family and your snuggle buddy at night.
We recently had a exercise at Danville where we went through different reasons of burnout, and because the team is really, really challenged right now with the capacity, and especially going into the spring.
Sure.
Um, so we kind of talked about the 6 triggers of burnout, and I wanted to kind of read them out and then maybe discuss what do you think is important, and which ones of these in general in veterinary medicine are more fair than others,
Okay.
and what do you think not only in Danville is unique in its culture, so then maybe even comparing this to maybe other hospitals, even though you probably had a limited exposure to it,
Sure.
but just in general as an industry and the type of the individuals that work in the in our industry. So
Sure.
the 6 of them, I can read them out and then we can probably like talk one at a time. So
Okay.
lack of control, when you don't control what you do, and when there's a lot of top down and sort of micromanagement.
Mhm.
Conflict of values, where your personal values don't align with the organization where you work for. Work overload, which is the most common one that people think about the burnout, but it's not only that, it's the 6 of them. So that's the third one. Insufficient reward, whether it's monetary or even just in terms of regular gratitude and thank you.
Sure.
Unfairness in the environment, if there's favoritism, things like that. And then the community breakdown, when people have trouble communicating with each other, providing feedback or conflict resolution.
Mhm.
So out of these 6, I'll because they're not in front of you, I'll take us
Sure.
through it, and then which ones do you think more relevant for our industry overall, and how does that feel at the level of your team? So lack of control, what do you think about that in our industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you said, our culture here is so much different, and I'm so fortunate that is there some micromanagement? Absolutely, but I think that Dr. Smith and now Galaxy encourages us to be our own people and bring ideas to the table. So I think for me specifically, that one doesn't even hardly factor. But I do think, I see on some of the Facebook groups that are vet related, and a lot of people do work for like, this is how we do it. Just you don't have any autonomy, and I can't imagine how difficult that would be. I'd probably be looking for a different place of employment if that were the case. So
No, that makes
um,
sense. How about the conflict of values? When do you think in our industry, and how is it on Denville, and where in the industry we could or could not face the conflict of values of yours with the organization?
sure. Again, there, like we have pretty good culture and pretty good values here in our practice. I think that, for instance, one thing would be elective procedures, which in a lot of areas, fortunately, they've kind of fizzled out. But like ear croppings and cat declaws, so procedures that an individual just doesn't feel comfortable doing, and the clinic's like, nope, we got to do it anyway. And I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, we did cat declaws up until like probably 2 years ago now. I can't remember when we stopped, but it was, when I was doing them regularly, it didn't seem like that big of a deal. And now I'm like, I'm so glad that we don't do that anymore. So, and I can't imagine just having a strong feeling about a procedure that you have that you would then be forced to do.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
another thing I guess that probably falls into that category a little bit is, um, financial euthanasia. That
Hmm.
may or may not fall into, like you said, the values category, but
Yeah.
different people have different levels of what they're able and willing to do for their pet, and I can imagine that has some bearing,
We
stronger on some people
actually
than others.
we actually in the last study we actually included that into the
Sure.
slides, and what we found out is that the economic euthanasia, not euthanasia itself. So euthanasia actually doesn't seem to increase the burnout as a procedure,
Sure.
but economic euthanasia
Hmm.
specifically does, which was it totally makes sense. But it was
Right. Yeah.
interesting to see that supported by the data. Really cool.
Definitely.
Work
Yeah.
overload. I guess that one
Yeah.
is
That.
relevant.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one. That one probably speaks out of the list. That probably speaks to me the most right now. And I think we've done over the last year and a half. We've kind of tried to manage that a little bit better, manage our clients' expectations. The way we do our schedule is a 2-column staggering schedule for each doctor, and we've gotten to the point that both of our columns were full, and then our third walk-in column was getting full most days as well, and it just we weren't providing the quality care that the patients deserved. All of our staff was completely wrung out at the end of the day. And I remember you talked about Sarah Dalton when she was actually writing her paper for school. She came to me. She's like, "Is there a time that you can think about that you suffered compassion fatigue?" And I was like, "Yeah, the summer that we had 2 columns full and 3 and 4 that were like getting full every single day, and I was at my max at that point, probably beyond." And so we backed up and we said, "Okay, what can we do?" And we have reserved urgent care blocks now, so our schedule's not 100% full. We're able to fit in our good clients that truly need to have an urgent or emergent appointment those days, and that's really been helpful.
That's awesome. And yeah, because we're not good as veterinarians, we're not good at saying no, right? That's the problem.
We are
we're
absolutely not good at
we
saying no.
go, I think they select us into vet school through a people pleasing lens. The more people pleasing you are, the more relevant you are to the profession. Okay.
Yeah.
Insufficient reward. Is that something that across the team, something that is felt? And then both compensation wise, but also in general, sort of, good job. Thank
Sure.
you.
I think that I don't personally feel that. I think that my compensation is very fair, and I feel like there are some days that I'm like, geez, why was that person rude to me? Why, thank you would have been nice here. But I do think as a whole, that's got some bearing, especially unfortunately with our support staff as a whole in our profession. We can't pay them what they're worth. So
Yeah,
falls in.
yeah, and what we're trying to design now is actually a bonus compensation for the
Yep.
entire team
And
that
that's
will basically balance the effort versus
right.
reward. Because
Right.
we don't benefit, especially the staff doesn't benefit more from seeing more clients. They just
Right.
don't. So I think it will be very important.
Yeah, I think that's exciting, and we really appreciate the structure that's going into that. And so let's see where
Yeah,
that goes.
that's awesome. How about unfairness? Do you think in our profession there's favoritism sometimes in the clinics and groups, or oldies versus old timers versus
Right.
newer
Yeah.
hires?
I mean, I think some of that's human nature, no matter how it goes. I think we try to discourage that here, but no matter what, I think human nature, you're going to have people that you just work with better, and that can come across as unfairness or favoritism to the rest of the staff. So
Yeah. And then the last one, and we could talk about, is the community breakdown, they call it, but essentially it's about the feedback and how the teams communicate, and also conflict resolution, feedback provision. So if there's no structured understanding how to do that, sometimes teams feel more burned out as well. So is there that in our profession?
absolutely. I think that I don't care how good your team is, you can always do a better job of communication. I don't think there's any such thing as over communicating. And I think that, again, that kind of goes back to human nature. But accepting and giving feedback is something that we can all do better. And I know here in our practice, we're hoping to have you and Gerardo come in and help us with that a little bit more. So yes, I think that, communication and the way things are, it's not even necessarily, I mean, it's that old saying, like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think that it's easy to forget how you come across, and, people take it the wrong way, even if you don't necessarily mean that. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the interesting statistic that I found is that veterinary profession has the lowest EQ, basically. And it kind of, this is all my own thoughts and hypotheses, but it's kind of the type of people, again, people that are drawn more of working with animals. They're thinking that they can hide from humans, and they
right. Yeah.
realize that those animals have owners, and then the
Right.
teams that are working with you are also humans.
Sure.
So I think that's learning that, and thank you for allowing us to step in and provide training on that, because I think it was interesting when we were there. We did exercise of kind of looking for solutions for a couple of things that came up as issues, and repeatedly it was coming back to communication, more open communication, more sort of transparency. So it was very interesting. Yeah,
Right.
that's great. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us,
Yeah.
and good luck on your vacation. Have fun, well deserved. So at
Yes.
least you're not overworked. I know that you're going on your exciting trip with your husband and your dogs.
Yeah. Well, the
And-
dogs actually are going to stay at home because it's not, the way the trails are, it's not really safe for them to go, which
yeah,
makes me a little bit sad. But anyways, they're actually, Amy's going to watch them while we're gone. But
excellent,
yep,
excellent. More
yep,
work
yep.
for Amy, the manager.
Right, exactly. More work
But
for
she can't
Amy.
say no, so let's
No,
use it.
she can't. She can't. But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to more of these opportunities.
So, Dr. Rohrig, before we go, one key question we always like to ask everyone is if there's a book or a podcast or something that they recommend people listen to or read. What would you recommend for people to listen to or read?
Sure. This was a hard one because there's a lot of good information out there. And this is actually a book I read several years ago, kind of as I was reflecting a little bit on actually improving our communication related to some of the feedback we had gotten when Dr. Ivan and Steve were here. But How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That was a good one. Just kind of in general, I think it kind of helps review interrelations with people and how to communicate well but still get your point across, but also being empathetic and listening to the other person's point of view.
Yeah, it's an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah,
It's a cool
absolutely.
book too, because I read that. It was assigned by work to me many
Oh, really? Yeah.
10 years ago.
Sure.
Read it, and it's nice. The title makes it seem like a multi-level marketing book almost, something
Sure, yeah.
crazy, but it is a really genuine way. So that's a cool thing, and probably really neat for people in the industry to read. So
Yeah.
again, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome, and always love talking with the folks on the ground, and look forward to having you back again soon.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, Dr. Rohrig.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Consolidate That. If you want to hear our new episodes, please find us on any podcast platform. Also, you can learn more about us on our website at galaxyvets.com.